Now to the National Assembly, to be exact. And news just in, as you heard, the ANC has released a statement talking about the postponement of the swearing-in of Deputy President David Mabuza today, and this in order for him to deal with some of the assertions and allegations from the Integrity Committee of the party. And Abra, when we crossed earlier, also asked John Steenhuisen of the DA about whether they would be putting forward a candidate for the presidency, and he said, we'd know later, so we'd have to wait and see. But clearly, quite a few developments coming out from that particular avenue. So let's go back to Abra Barbier. She is, of course, in the Parliamentary Precinct to give us the latest on what is to happen today. Abra?
Sakina, thanks again. Yes, we obviously will be keeping an eye on all aspects of how today unfolds politically and administratively. But right now, I'm not going to discuss politics with you because I am speaking to the Secretary to the National Assembly, Mr. Masibulele Xaso, who will be speaking to us about process, procedure and administration. That's his field of interest. That's his field of expertise. We won't be throwing any political questions at you, don't worry, sir. First of all, thank you for joining us. First of all, something that I didn't touch on earlier on, I didn't expand much on earlier on, was the voting process. This, of course, today we just talk about the swearing in and the election of the president and the speaker, but there might actually be a voting process, and you've just told me, depending on how many names are contested, it could take up to 6 hours. Just explain that voting process when it comes to those key positions, please.
All right. Good morning. The procedure and process today is that we'll do the swearing in of members first. They will come in groups as arranged by the parties themselves, not in alphabetical order for the swearing in. And then we proceed to the election of the speaker. If there is one candidate, of course, there is no secret ballot process. But if there is more than one candidate, then there is voting by secret ballot. But I think even before we get to the detail, it's important to state that the Chief Justice is in charge of the process today. The IEC is not involved with this process. So the Chief Justice has formulated the rules for this sitting. The Chief Justice has assigned the returning officers, and the returning officers have taken the oath or affirmation before the Chief Justice in order to run the voting process. So even the voting itself, the Chief Justice will be overseeing that process. 2 nominations are called. If that is the case, the ballot papers must be printed. And of course, we'll have a break for the printing of the ballot papers. And then we come back for the voting process. We think that for the voting process itself, we could say it would take about 2 hours, maybe just over 2 hours. That's for the printing of the ballot papers and for the voting itself, because we must go through the voters' roll. And in alphabetical order. That process will be done. The names will be called out in alphabetical order. Remember, we have 3 positions that will be dealt with today: the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker, and the President. So if there is no contestation for any of these positions, we expect the swearing-in process to take about 1.5 hours. And around about 12, we'll then deal with the election of the Speaker. No contestation, we proceed to the election of the Deputy Speaker. Now, swearing in, election of the Speaker, those sessions are chaired by the Chief Justice. The election of the Deputy Speaker, the Speaker will preside over that session. And after we've done the election of the Deputy Speaker, there will be a process of blessing of the House by religious leaders. And then we break for lunch. That is if there is no contestation for the 2 positions. We break for lunch, and 5:02, that is prescribed in the rules, 5 minutes before the session, the bells will be rung to call members back for the election of the President. Speaker will initially take the chair and call upon the Chief Justice to then assume the position.
Sorry, sir, can I just jump in there? When it comes to the election of the president, yes, I know he chooses his own deputy president, but with this latest news that Mr. Mabuza will not be sworn in today, does this affect proceedings at all today? Administratively, that's the question I'm asking. Does this impact on anything today?
Not really, except that he will not be sworn in. If he's not here, he will not be sworn in as a member of Parliament. Of course, the swearing in of a person enables the person to function in the office, whether you take the oath or you take the affirmation. So that's really the significance. If you are not available, the oath or affirmation will not be administered on you.
And then when it comes to the nominations for the name of the president, how many names can be put to the floor?
It really depends on the people who wish to contest for the position of the president. And previously we've had only 2 names. It's conceivable that you could have 3 names, maybe 4 names. We don't know. We don't know what parties intend doing this afternoon. But all we can say is that the system, our systems, are ready to deal with any of those eventualities should they arise in the House. Again, it's important to emphasize that for the election procedures, we don't use the rules of the NA, but we use the rules as formulated by the Chief Justice. And those rules have been made available, they have been gazetted, and they will be made available in the House for members to consult them should they need to. So every process and procedure during that period is governed by those rules, and the Chief Justice will deal with the issues that might arise in terms of these rules, and obviously in terms of the Constitution.
So obviously Parliament and the Chief Justice's office have been working very closely over the past few weeks.
We had to. We have been. Remember, this sitting constitutionally is called by the Chief Justice in terms of Section 48. So we have been working closely, and we continue to work closely together in preparation for this session. Even I might have mentioned this, even the counting of the votes, that will be done under the watchful eye of the Chief Justice. The rules say a room must be set aside for that process, and we'll be counting it as the administration. So even the voting booths, those are Parliament's emblems and stuff.
Mr. Xaso, thank you so much for your time today, and I hope that you have a peaceful day today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
There we have it, Mr. Xaso, Secretary to the National Assembly, explaining the process to us today and clarifying that with the latest news of the Deputy President, Didi Mabuza, not being sworn in today, that it in fact won't affect any of the parliamentary processes, or rather the processes being watched over by the Office of the Chief Justice. It won't affect any of those processes during the swearing in today. We now are going to an ad break, and we'll see you after that.